Okay, yes. Yeah, we're gonna move the customer service update just after the public comment section ahead of our consent agenda. Motion to approve.
All right. I'll accept that change in the agenda or the revision. And with that, I'll again make a motion to adopt the revised agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we'll go to our approval of our minutes. Mr. Hackney. All in favor? And really quick, I forgot earlier, but when everybody's talking, make sure that you pull the tab on the microphone towards you so everyone can hear. I forgot about that. Up next, we have our public comment section. Do we have speakers?
Yes, sir, we do.
Please, when you come to the podium, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes per speaker.
Good morning, Andre Brown, 1209 Mears Street. I am an attorney who works with an organization that provides free legal services to low-income folks in civil matters. However, today I am here in my individual capacity to speak out in opposition to the water flow restrictor program. I know one thing that the board is looking into is how to make its rates more equitable and affordable. I do want to acknowledge and commend the board for moving in that direction. However, I feel the water flow restrictor program is in direct conflict with this strategy. I understand that your motivation for the program is to compel customers who are behind on their bills to contact you to get current. With a water flow restrictor installed at their homes, those households who can afford to bring their accounts current will do so or enter into a repayment plan. My primary concern is for CFPUA's lowest income customers. Those households that fall into that category, I believe, will be most impacted by this program. According to your Enhancing Equity, Affordability, and Conservation through Increasing Block Rates report, your lowest income customers consume the least amount of water, but pay a higher percentage of their income towards their CFPUA bills. The report also notes that customers in the lowest 20% of census tracts based on median household income pay 81% more on average as a percentage of their income compared to customers in the remaining 80% of census tracts. So on one hand, there seems to be a serious discussion regarding creating a more equitable block rate, while at the same time, there is this aggressive debt collection strategy that I believe will disproportionately punish the very people with whom you were trying to seek a level playing field for. Not to mention that this program would be implemented in the midst of a worldwide pandemic that at the moment is worsening. Our neighbors who are already cost burdened in terms of affordability, who are more than 60 days delinquent on their bill, will find themselves in the unfortunate position of being eligible for the water flow restrictor program. And that number of people at this moment is over 6,000. If a water flow restrictor is installed in someone's home, the water flow will be insufficient to take a bath, a shower, to wash dishes in a dishwasher, to wash clothes in a washing machine. So I ask you, what about households as well with infants and children who are in diapers? How about how our seniors who would be affected, particularly at any point, but especially during the summer, and remaining hydrated? I would like the board to think about the potential impact to the overall health and safety of our community. I understand that CFPUA is a business and makes decisions accordingly. However, installing flow restrictors as an alternative to disconnecting water service is neither hygienic nor humane. And I urge this board to adopt a less draconian and restrictive policy or program to accomplish its business objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Good morning. Thank you for my name's Diana Hill. I live at 2210 Klein Road in Wilmington. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. To paraphrase Mark Antony, I come to bury this proposal, not to praise it. But instead of just identifying the obvious problems with this draconian, inhumane proposal, I would like to offer a couple of options. One, and this is not meant in an adversarial way, please consider deferring this proposal to February 1st and take that month to attach the piece to your own household faucets to experience what the actuality is of 10% flow. Just, it's in the line of walking in somebody else's moccasins. I see that as an option, the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority will consider income as a criteria in repayment, and kudos for that concept. The New Hanover County Tax Department currently offers discounted property taxes for those of a certain age, income, and/or disability. I suggest that the data that has already been obtained by the county be applied to the water sewer charges. In fact, it could be offered to those who are already receiving this benefit from the county and applied retroactively to their current unpaid bills. For those who are not homeowners, the same type of application used by the county could be used by renters to apply for this discount, also retroactively. There would be no reason to reinvent the wheel for designing an application. It is already available. As far as landlords are concerned, who are responsible for water bills for their properties, I suggest a requirement for them to show the status of their property. Since there has been a restriction on evictions, there may be a way to work with those owners who are between a rock and a hard place as far as collecting rent payments. Basically, it is obvious to me that with a little thought and lots of compassion, this could be resolved without putting our Wilmington, New Hanover County families in the position of families living in third world countries. I suggest that the committee table this proposal until you have a win-win proposal. This is not good for the people you serve, asking people to do with less water when we are also asking for more hygienic lifestyles. This is, well, I don't even have an expression for that thought process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maria McIntyre. I live at 165 Soundview Drive in Wilmington. I come here this morning as a Wilmington resident, a CFPUA customer, and also in my capacity as the director of a nonprofit law firm here in Wilmington, the Financial Protection Law Center. We our advocacy to low income and moderate income homeowners and residents in this area. And I come today to urge you not to implement the residential water restriction program. I acknowledge the board is in a very difficult position and is facing a very difficult time with budget and financial shortfalls. And I acknowledge that the board was trying to come up with a humane alternative to the typical water shutoff that would have occurred otherwise. But this program, as I've learned from the information from the CFPUA website itself, does not provide for the minimum standards of health and public safety, especially at this time of the health crisis and pandemic that we face. I want to emphasize that residents are not choosing to be non-payers at this time. It is just our most vulnerable citizens, our service workers, and our neighbors of color are facing catastrophic fallout financially and health-wise from this pandemic. And we can't approach this in a typical way of non-payment as we may have in the past, because we're in such a different time. As others have mentioned and will mention more eloquently, the problems with the program do not promote and get in the way of hygiene, and that is very necessary to prevent the spread of the virus. And none of us, I don't think any of us would volunteer for this program with the drastic reduction in the water flow that prevents so many important things. And I think the unintended consequences will be that people will have to go into other households to take care of necessary daily needs. So I urge, while I commend the board and I empathize with the difficult position you're in, I do urge research and pursuit of other alternatives to this program, other funding sources, other options. I'd encourage the board to promote the nonprofit so that the public and businesses can contribute to assist our neighbors in need during this time. I urge the board to reconsider and to stop this program for the sake of humanity and also for the public health of all of us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Claire Williamson. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I'm the Energy Policy Advocate at the North Carolina Justice Center. The Justice Center is a 501c3 organization, and our mission is to help low-income individuals and communities in North Carolina. When I learned about this policy, I did some research on water restrictor policies, and you are not the only authority to think about this. A policy similar to yours was proposed in Toledo, Ohio. And I spoke with one of the lead advocates and learned it was never implemented because the community members expressed some of the same concerns that have been shared here today. The Toledo Utilities Board, to its credit, reversed the program, and I'm here to ask you to do the same. I understand the desire and the program is pitched as providing water for basic needs and as an alternative to shutting them off. But let's look at how that would actually work. On your website, it says it will take 12 seconds to fill a glass of water. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11 1,000, 12 1,000. The amount of water is so restricted that it's barely enough to wash your hands, to clean your clothes, to clean dishes, or to cook with. That was a long time. And so it will, as other people have mentioned, it will lead folks to, it is not a sufficient amount of water. It will lead folks to move in with family and friends and provide a large burden on people who are already have lost their jobs and are struggling to survive. And so the one other point I'd like to make is around the pilot program. And it appears your only measure for success of this program is if participants take what little money they already have and use it to pay you. There's no consideration for the other harms and impacts that will occur to these people and your community, as well as the state of North Carolina as a result of this program. Restricting water is extremely coercive, and it forces people to shift their finances and make trade-offs between essential needs to respond to this coercive action. So, will you be tracking skipped medications, meals and food, missed car payments, missed electricity payments? All of these things are choices that people have to make and have real costs to this community. So restricting water and doing this to one person is wrong. Doing this to 10 people in a pilot program is worse. And heaven forbid that you implement this policy to all your customers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathy King. I reside at 408 Clay Street in Wilmington. I'm here just to stand before you and let you know I'm in opposition of the water reduction program, and I go along with all the conversation that's taken place in front of me. My rationale also is just to reiterate the impact that it will have on our public health as it relates to the fact that we're in a pandemic now, with hand hygiene, hand washing being the primary means of helping to prevent the spread. I think that this is not the right time to implement such a program as water reduction across, whether it's a pilot program or not. I would suggest that the people who are workers or people who are well off be the ones that are impacted by this rather than those who are likely to be in the lowest income bracket. So just in short, that's what I wanted to say, and I'm in support of the others who have already shared their insights to the opposition for water reduction at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have any more speakers, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for coming today. Now we'll go to our customer service update on this topic.
Good morning. We do have a presentation to go with this update, and we certainly appreciate the comments and the thoughts that came forward from the people who spoke previously. They made excellent points. I think they're well reasoned, and we appreciate their ideas. And with input from the public, we will only have better ways to help our customers and to serve them. Going back to September, we updated the board on the status of our delinquent accounts, both residential and non-residential. And we talked about ways that we could work with our customers in partnerships to help them get their accounts current, keep them in water, and be more flexible in terms of the policies and the procedures that we use, and come up with creative ways that we can work with our customers to help them through times. We understand that in the pandemic, things are different than they were a year ago. And that's one of the reasons we're looking for alternatives. And our goal is to keep customers in water. No one I can say that works for the authority or in this room is trying to not serve our customers. So we need to be mindful that while they're sorting through their account issues, the services we provide are essential for hygiene and public health. We understand that, and we agree with that, and that's why we think the pilot program will give us good information, give us good ideas on ways that we can work with our community and collectively deal with these difficult issues. Next slide, please. So let's look back. Going back to March, at the beginning of the pandemic, we made the decision early not to use disconnections as a way to encourage people to keep their accounts current for a lot of the reasons that we've been discussing over the last months. And this was before the governor came forward and his executive order restricted utilities from doing that. We were already there. That executive order expired in July. We continued our policy of not disconnecting people for delinquencies. Again, we're trying to work with our customers and we understand the needs and trying to develop ways that we can help them get their accounts current without going to that step. We heard of a program in Phoenix which was using these restricting devices, and they also have smart meters that they can throttle back flow as a way to encourage people to pay without having a full disconnection. So we made our own prototypes of these devices. We tried them out in actual homes to see how they worked. We presented those videos in September to the board. And with that, the recommendation was to pilot the program beginning in January. And again, at the time that was, let's get through the holidays, let's give people a chance through messaging to get their accounts current, develop payment plans with us. So there was an opportunity and time for people to do that. From the late summer to present, we've been sending letters and messages. We've been contacting people by phone to let them know that we're here. We want to work with them to get their accounts current and try to get those payment plans established. Again, encouraging them to have a dialogue with us and work with us so that we can help them. In October, we did begin disconnections for non-residential accounts, and we'll have some information on the trends there, recognizing that that's different. That's different than a place where people live. Next slide, please. So the policy as it sits now is an account becomes eligible for disconnection or a restriction when their charges are $100 or more and they're delinquent 60 or more days. Or if there's been some other issue, in other words, they've had an insufficient funds in their account for payment, or they've defaulted on a payment plan. And I'd like to focus on that bullet for a moment because we think this is an area, an opportunity where we can improve our program, where we can work with customers, and if they fall behind on their payment plan, let's have a discussion with them. What would be a reasonable amount that you could pay? When do you think you'll be able to pay? And have those type discussions so that we can collectively work with folks. Again, our goal is not to have disconnections or restrictions, but rather to have that dialogue with our customers and try to help them. One recommendation I do have is to continue suspension of late fees. And that's something the board can do today. Again, our goal isn't to get extra money from folks, rather it's to help them get their accounts current. So that would simply be another way that we could minimize the financial impact by continuing to spend late fees for the duration of the pilot program. Next slide, please. So let's look at the non-residential accounts. And this slide shows on the left the total value of the delinquent accounts. And they're also shown in the blue with the blue bars. So over time, you can see in May, they were about 300,000, got close to 500,000 and have come back down in December. On the right shows the number of accounts, and again, these are non-residential, that were delinquent. And that's shown with the red line. And over time, they have come back down. The star shows when we began disconnections. So here we are in December, and we have 98 accounts that are currently delinquent, and only 12 of those are actually using water. So the other 86 potentially aren't in business or otherwise not using water. So in terms of the non-residential, we've been able to get most of those accounts current. Next slide, please. But let's look at our residential trends. And the same information is shown on this slide. On the left is the total value of the delinquent accounts. That's shown with the blue lines, the blue bars. And on the right shows the number of accounts that are delinquent between 0 and 7,000, and that's depicted with the red line. And unfortunately, both of those are increasing over time. Here in December, we have over 6,000 residential accounts that are behind, and their total value is about $2.7 million. But it's important to note that about 500,000 of that 2.7 is City of Wilmington trash and or solid waste and stormwater charges. So not only about 2.2 is actually CFPUA. But this shows the trend continues. And the farther that we go into this, then those balances will get higher and it will become more difficult for people to get their accounts current. Next slide, please. This slide shows the average residential delinquent balance over time. Back in May, it was less than $300. Here we are in December, it's now at over $450 per account. That's average. And again, that trend continues to go up, and our goal is to try to change the slope of that line. Let's start bringing it down by working with people, getting their accounts current, and making it easier for them to keep their accounts up to date. Next slide, please. So our pilot plan. As we saw in the previous slide, the trends continue upward, and about $2.2 million is outstanding to Cape Fear Public Utility Authority, and that's 3% of our total roughly annual water and sewer revenues, just to give you a sense of scale. And that is the sole source of our funding, generally comes from our rates, and that's what pays for our systems, our operations, and our maintenance, and all the other expenses that we have. We know those accounts are rising, and it's only becoming more troubling over time, and it'll be more difficult for people to settle their accounts. It's also important to note that that $2.2 million does not include outstanding residential balances for sewer-only accounts. We have some customers who don't use water. They're sewer only. They either have a well or get water from another provider. If we include those balances, the sum of all the residential delinquencies is about $3.7 million. To give you a sense of scale, in December of 19, a year ago, before the pandemic, it's hard to imagine that now, that was $1.6 million. So we've seen a significant increase in the total balance. Disconnections or shutoffs have always been a last resort option. That's not something that any utility jumps to quickly. That's something that we have always done after all other options have been exhausted. And a number of utilities around the state, not just water and sewer utilities, but electric, gas, and others have already returned to disconnections for non-payment and after the governor's moratorium expired. And we know there are more that are planning to. So our goal is to try to develop a way that we can encourage that dialogue with our customers. And we believe that the flow restrictors are less drastic alternative to disconnections that still allow customers to have between 1/2 and 1 gallon per minute so that they can maintain their basic hygiene and household needs. And it's also important to note that once a customer reaches out to us, we set up the payment plan that day or within the next day, we can have them back in full service. So the goal is not to keep them under the program until their account is current. It's just simply to come in, talk to us, and let's work through the best way to get your account up to date. Next slide, please. So how do we implement something like this? Well, very slowly. We're looking to install or at least contact 12 accounts beginning the week of January 19 and let them know that they would be eligible, and hopefully they'll come see us. Hopefully they will come and set up a payment plan, and we'll never install the restrictors for those 12 accounts. That would certainly be what our goal is. But by starting slowly, we can monitor the results, we can make changes if we need to, and we can also, as we hear from our customers, find other ways that we can improve our services and work with them. Initially, we would start with the largest balances and oldest accounts. And just to give you a sense of scale, the top 25 residential accounts have an outstanding combined balance of over $73,000, or almost $3,000 per account. And again, our focus is to work with these customers and get them current. And there are a lot of ways that we can do that. With the flexibility we have in a pilot program, we can look at longer terms. Maybe 12 months isn't long enough. Maybe if we go to 18 or 24 months, we can continue to keep these people in service and continue to have them work with us. Perhaps there are fixed charges that we could use instead of just dividing their balance by 24 months. Perhaps we could agree on what is a reasonable amount that they could pay, and maybe that would take longer than 24 months. But we need to have those discussions with people. And once we can get them on a plan, they're back fully in service. And I'd like to point out on the last bullet that there are programs, and this program began at CFPUA in 2008 as a way to help people get assistance paying their water and sewer bills specifically. And it's since been spun off into its own organization. It's administered through the County Department of Health and Human Services, and it's can be found at waterwayonline.com. And this is a program that my wife and I donate to each year, and we have for many years. And I would encourage anyone who has an interest in helping the people in our community to donate to that program, because the proceeds go directly to helping people keep their accounts current and help them with their bills. I think it's an important program, and I think there's certainly the needs exceed what the program can provide at this point, but that's simply a matter of getting more people to contribute. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in the issue to look at that nonprofit. That's an overview of where we are, where we've been, and what the trends are. And with that, staff and I would be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan Barfield. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I know, Jim, you talked about residential accounts and non-residential accounts, and what I've uncovered as an unintended consequence is that some of the non-residential accounts are actually residential accounts in terms of individuals that may have an apartment or a duplex are considered commercial accounts. A few weeks ago, I got contacted by an elderly couple whose water had been turned off for 2 weeks and had been intermittently turned off. Their lease, when it was written, their rent covered their water bill. However, the landlord didn't have the resources to pay the water bill. So you've got two sides of a duplex with people that have no water whatsoever. And we've got a policy that says one thing, but some of these units are serving residential people. And for me, the struggle that I had was that CFPUA staff knew that you had these elderly people without water for 2 weeks, but didn't really come up with a solution until I made a phone call, and they were granted a 60-day extension and working with the landlord to get her water bill caught up. But I think we need to look at a bigger picture and then parse out what does it really mean to be residential or non-residential, and make sure that we're not impacting folks inadvertently because they live in a duplex. And, you know, as I talked to the landlord myself, she said, Mr. Barfield, I'm a senior citizen. I only have Social Security coming in. My tenants haven't paid their rent yet, but I'm struggling. And kind of find out there's probably a leak in the property where she's got roughly a $2,000 plus water bill that she's got to get paid up. And hopefully we can work with that, get them caught up. How do we address those things? How do we change our policies to make sure that we don't have these type of intended consequences?
I think one way to do that is, and as we pointed out and we learned through that case, that not every account falls neatly into one of the categories, and to be flexible as we deal with them. So as I recall, that account is back in service. We did give them 60 days for the landlord to make any repairs that are needed and get the account current. And we can also, in that case, transfer the balance to the landlord and make sure that that address has service. But we do believe there was a leak, and certainly there are other problems that contribute to these balances more than just consumption. But I agree that one did not fit neatly in either category, and that's where having some flexibility is helpful.
I guess my question is, how many others fit that and we just don't know about it?
I don't have an answer for that right now in terms of a number, but I can certainly try to get a number and get that back to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's Rob Zappel.
Yes, Mr. Zell.
Thank you. Jim, yeah, thanks for that presentation. Just want to make sure I heard it right, and I'd like to, if I did, I'd like to have it repeated. We have a little over 6,000 customers who would be affected by this program ultimately, but all of those could be resolved if they would pick up the phone or would respond to any of the multiple letters or attempts to reach them through social media to have a conversation with any of our customer service representatives to set up a customized payment plan. Did I hear that right, or have I got any portion of that wrong?
No, that's absolutely correct. And that's the best outcome for everybody, is to have that dialogue and that discussion with the customers, put together a plan that makes sense for them, and keep them in service. Absolutely. That is the best outcome all the way around.
One, Jim, also, I know I had an opportunity to talk to a number of people who have reached out. And I believe it's a misperception, but I'd love to hear it from you, is that if you're a couple days late on your bill, that there will be a flow restrictor put on your account, and you'll immediately fall into that. Is that, that's not what I heard. Could you just reaffirm that, if you're a couple days late, that this program, would you be a part of it?
No, certainly not. And especially since we're starting with the oldest and largest balances, that wouldn't be the case. And even after the 60 days, there's a time of communication that we have with the customers before that next step is taken. So again, our goal isn't to penalize people for being a couple days late on the bill. It's to keep them in service and put together a strategy that makes sense for them so that they can stay in service.
So all of these 6,000 customers could have, permanent relief, I guess, if they simply would call the customer service line and resolve, again, set up a payment plan. I know that we're willing to do back bends to set up a customized payment plan at any amount. You've made it clear in your presentation that CFPUA and certainly this board understand the seriousness of a pandemic and also going without water. But all we need is for these people to communicate at any level to address the back payments. And that would get their water on full, not a flow restrictor, but on full. Is that right?
That's correct. And also I'd like to clarify that the payment plans are without interest.
Go ahead, yeah, or without interest. Yeah, yes. Just for the sake of this meeting, I know a number of people have a lot of interest in tuning into this meeting. Is there a number, or I imagine we don't have a slide, or a number that people could reach out to? Or do you know it off the top of your head, Jim? I hate to put you on the spot like that, that they could call to resolve their issues.
Yes, our customer service is 332-6550.
And that's in the area code 910, or is that an 800 number?
No, it's 910.
All right. Thank you.
Jim, this is Charlie Ravenbark. When we first talked about this, when it was brought to us, I thought, well, this is, really good. But I guess, in normal times, and when I mean non-pandemic times, when I refer to normal times, I think it is something that enables people to continue to have the ability to flush a toilet, brush their teeth, what have you. In these times, I don't know that anybody could have predicted, the depths to which this thing has gone. People losing their incomes, waiting on the government to send some type of a bailout check. And, I've kind of been in this situation before in my past. And if you've got a check coming in and you're making money and your job hadn't been affected, and you wake up in a warm house and you take a warm shower and it's business as usual, it's difficult to appreciate what a mother or a father or a grandmother is facing when there's children in the house and the lady that counted out 12 seconds on the glass of water when you're trying to get somebody to bathe or what have you. It's difficult for me to comprehend that. I don't know if we could make the hole bigger in the pump or the device that goes on the meter. I don't know what we can do. And then there's the other thing that comes to mind with the statute that we operate under. It's fairly rigid. And we're not allowed by that statute to treat people in different classes or pigeonhole them in different compartments. Everybody is supposedly to be treated the same. Now, with regard to these bills, if I was on a restrictor plate and they told me I could call a number and get my water back going, I'd call up whether I knew I could make that payment or not, just to get the water back on. And I do agree with the whole concept of this program when it was initiated, that this is better than not having any water at all. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But we're trying to accomplish something here in these trying times. And I think that maybe we're falling short of what we're, we got a big heart. Maybe we haven't got big enough heart. I don't know that we can kick this can down the road because there's not any more road. So those are my comments. And I don't like people to make problems without coming up with solutions. And I don't know that I have a solution, but I'm sure the wisdom of this group and our staff can come up with something that will make life easier. I mean, the governor just yesterday has come down with something that's going to go into effect Friday night, curfews. I mean, a year ago, we would have scoffed at the idea of something like this happening, but it's here, it's real, and I don't know when it's going to end. The vaccines are coming out. Everybody's going to get vaccinated, hopefully, and this will all be a bad dream this time next year, but right now it's real. And if I thought I had to live off of a restrictor, if I didn't have any income and I was struggling to buy groceries for my family or whatever, I'd be looking to us for something besides this. Thank you.
Mr. Ravenbark, you are right. Unfortunately, North Carolina law was pretty strict. You are supposed to base it on the service that the folks are receiving. And you're right, we should treat everybody in the same category the same. And the Institute of Government has said previously, because we have wanted to do this, that you can't base it on income. But we could do other things, like the restrictor program.
Mr. Chairman, this is Larry Sneeden. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
May I make some comments?
Yes, sir.
Number one, I think we've made it very clear, but we probably need to say it again, is that this is not, this is solely, the restrictor plate program is solely to provide an alternative to disconnecting water. We're not bringing in a new group of people into this that we're imposing added restrictions on. It's strictly to provide a small amount of water to folks that would otherwise have no water whatsoever. And I believe that's been very clear in what we've said from day one. And not understanding the arguments that are being made that these are draconian measures, because I see no way that having a little bit of water is worse than having no water whatsoever. So in my mind, the issue then is not about the restrictor plate program, it's what it's really about the issue, as we've just been discussing right along, of of what to do about folks that can't pay their bills. And so I really think that the issue of arguing about the restrictors is misplaced, that what we're really talking about is how do we deal with people that don't pay their bills. And another point, there's a lot of things that I'd like to say, but another point that I would like to make sure that we consider is that we are a public utility authority. We're nonprofit. We can't print money, and so somebody has to pay for treating the water, and those are the customers. We're not making a profit. We don't have profits that we can turn back in or make less of a profit. Someone has to pay, which means that as we broaden the number of folks that aren't able to pay, it means that the remainder of the customers will have to pay more. And that means raising rates. And I have a concern about raising rates, because that may throw more folks that are on the edge now. They're able to pay their bills, but if we tack another $5 or $10 a month onto their bills to pay to pay our cost, then we may be putting them in a situation where they would have to go on a restrictor program or have their service disconnected. So I think we need to be very cognizant of that and not just jump in and say, yes, we can let folks not pay their bills whatsoever. But and I think we're taking a good measured approach. I don't want to be cold-hearted about it, but I think that we need to understand that we don't, by trying to help a lot of folks more, we don't want to hurt a lot of additional folks. And that's the comments that I had.
Mr. Chairman, this is Charlie Rivenbark again. I in no way intimated, if it came across that way, let me make clear, I had no intention of saying that these accounts should be forgiven. I certainly agree that everybody needs to pay because that's the way the authority is set up. But, you know, there's an old saying that rigid justice is injustice. And I think there may be some room here where we can bend a little. But at the end of the day, all of these bills need to be paid. And it may take them a year or more to catch up or whatever, but that was never my intent to forgive these. If it came across that way, I erred.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
this is Hollis Briggs. Since October, what percentage of the people that you've sent letters out to residential customers that have come into the authority and made plans to pay some pay arrangement? You understand that question?
I do, and I'll ask Christy Irick, our Customer Service Director, to answer that.
We have had 8 customers come in and set up payment plans.
So since October, the number of people that we have that's delinquent, only 8 people have made plans to make a payment arrangement.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's Rob Zappel. Again, I'd like to follow up on Mr. Briggs' comments there. It occurs to me, and again, in talking and in hearing, and I appreciate Mr. Briggs kind of teasing out that number of only 8, we may have simply a messaging problem here. The path to resolve all 6,000 of these is there. And for whatever reason, people are not getting the information or reaching back out to CFPUA to set up, again, any kind of customized payment plan. Have we considered the thought of going to billboards, to a larger social media campaign, to using public service announcements that would feature a simple phone number and a basic message if you are having trouble paying your water and sewer bill? Here's the number to call. We understand the issues that are resolved, are coming about as a part of the pandemic, unemployment. No issue is too small when it impacts your ability to be able to get one of the most basic necessities of water. Please call this number and set up your payment plan. I'm sure we've had some internal discussions on that, but I'd be interested in other directors' comments on that. But it strikes me as that we have a messaging problem.
This is Jim. I can say that in April, we had messages on bills that went out to the customers about the program for disconnection being suspended. In May, letters were mailed to specific delinquent customers advising them of their balance, letting them know what we were doing regarding disconnections and that we were consistent with the governor's executive order, and encouraging them to contact us for payment arrangements. These letters continued until the end of July in conjunction with the end of the executive order. In September, bill messaging for residential customers was updated, letting customers know that disconnections would not resume until the end of the year, and that was after the board took action in September. We continued in December, letting the residential customers know that their accounts were delinquent, that they had a balance, and that the restrictor program would be, the pilot program would begin in January. So we've made specific, we've also had social media outreach and some other means, but we have specifically contacted those account holders that have a balance. We haven't looked at billboards and other options, but we certainly can.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan again. I was riding downtown this morning and I was sharing with one of my daughters, imagine if you were without water for 2 weeks, what would that look like? And trying to put myself in that predicament and not being able to flush my toilets or take a bath or cook. What does that look like? And I share with her back when I was 20 years old in the Navy, not making much money, had no power on for a few days in my condo, and I'm trying to plug into an outside light to get lights on in my unit for at least overnight until I was able to get a paycheck to get lights turned on. But what does that look like? For me, and I appreciate, the diversity of thought. That's the great thing about America. For me, I just don't know how I could justify my conscience putting this restrictor in me, it's almost like you're teasing people. You know, I would just assume cut everything off as opposed to have something trickling out and treating people in that manner. Looking, as Charlie said, in this unprecedented season of a pandemic, there are so many folks that have gone and sought unemployment trying to make ends meet, people that are being evicted from homes, people that don't have resources. And I tell you, if you don't have money to pay a water bill, you probably don't have money to have the internet and access to Wi-Fi as well to surf the web and figure out how to make connection with CFPUA. I know that with my wife paying our water bill, I want to say that you've got to be on a payment plan where they draft your account monthly to be able to not pay any fees. You know, so again, that hits folks that don't have resources another time in the pocket, if I'm not mistaken. I know for me at this point, I can't support the restrictor, but I'm hoping we can find another alternative.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Briggs.
Hollis Briggs again. When Rob was asking if we had tried any other means of communication to get this message across to people, you know, these are unprecedented times, Mr. Chairman, and I mean, I know you sent out letters and things of that nature and put it on the back of the bill, but I don't think that's reaching far enough to what ramifications that's going to take place after we take this vote today. So I don't feel comfortable at all moving forward with this process because I have had my water turned off for a significant period of time, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. It didn't smell good. And I caught the devil trying to disguise being without water to my neighbors because of who I am. But I did it for some significant period of time, and it was an awful situation. I would like to offer my services to go on at least the radio, maybe the radio that services the people that we think this is going to affect the most. And I mean, that's not a secret. I received several phone calls. I told people that I would explore it, but I would like to extend my services to go on the radio with possibly some of the radio personalities here in this area and tell them how important it is to make that phone call to help their situation so we won't have to implement this restricted program. I haven't really said a lot during the time that I've been on this board, but I think today is the day. That is my opinion. If we could suspend this situation for a few days, 30 days, 60 days, I mean, I mean, I understand that the bill has to be paid, Mr. Chairman, but this situation that we're in right now, it changes almost daily. You've got the governor scaling us way back. We're getting ready to go to a curfew. And under any other circumstances, I would be down with this as a means to get people to pay their bills. But I think we need to come up with some different ideas. And like I said, I would be glad to myself to give my time to this authority to try to find some other means of communication to get this across if we could just suspend this for some days.
Mr. Chair, I have a process, it's Rob Zappel, a process question. What would be the impact of us not taking action today as a board?
In September, the board passed a resolution authorizing the pilot. So absent any other action, the pilot program would move forward beginning on January 19th. And the resolution did include a suspension of the delinquency fees.
And unfortunately, by parliamentary procedure, whoever made the motion would have to make the motion to overturn this, the previous motion.
Madam Attorney, what I understand about that process through the School of Government is anyone in the majority vote can make a motion to reverse that decision, not the person that made the motion. I've dealt with that on the county commission on several occasions, and I've actually asked that question of the school of government.
I'll be glad to answer that question. Robert's Rules of Order require that, but if the board wants to suspend Robert's Rules of Order, they can with the motion and a vote.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jessica Cannon. May I make a comment?
Yes.
Prior to deciding that, is there a mechanism where we can, I'm so glad this affordability issue is before us, and we are obviously in unprecedented times. We know that because of human nature, some percentage of people, they procrastinate paying their bills. But we also know that with these extreme economic conditions we are in, that some significant portion of those 6,000 people or customer accounts simply are unable to get their accounts current. And I think it's wise to continue to find ways to bring them into the tent and come up with payment plans. My question is, what procedural acts may we take to try to set up a customer assistance fund? We do have the 501c3 Waterway, which I'm happy to donate my small stipend to every month. And I know lots of people who work at CFPUA fund that. I know we get a small amount of money from the city and the county for that, but I know that that assistance fund is burned through very quickly. And what I would like to know is, you know, the CARES Act gave a certain amount of money that came down through the governor and went to the county. There is some percentage of our customers who I would like to make a bigger number of people aware of that fund, and I would like to find ways to boost that funding. And who knows if Congress is going to make an appropriation between now and the end of the year. I think it's odds, I think the over-under on that is not good right now. But I hope that we as an organization, we do not have shareholders, we do not make a profit. We pay for our operations and we pay our employees simply by ratepayer funding. And so I would like us to be more aggressive to try to boost our customer assistance fund. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's Rob Zappel again. I have a follow-up to Director Cannon's comments. Do we currently have a checkoff box or a way that's on our current bill that would allow people who, when they're paying their bill, to add $5, $10, $100 that would go directly to that assistance fund? Is that a part of our billing process at this point?
This is Jim, and the answer is not yet. And our new billing software, that was one of the reasons that we had looked at getting to a more sophisticated system, so we could have programs like a roundup system where you round your bill up to the next dollar every month. But right now, while it has the capability, it's not configured for that yet. And once we finish implementation of that program and that software, that's when we plan to circle around and look at some of these other items. But you're absolutely right. Being able to get a little bit of funding from a lot of people over a period of time is a great way to raise money for funding for programs such as that. You see it in the grocery store when they ask if you want to round up for whatever the cause is that they have, and I do it and a lot of other people do it, and I'm sure it's successful. And that was our hope, was that once we get the software fully implemented, a lot of those things, monthly billing and other services would be available. So yeah, it's out there. It's just not quite here yet.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan Barfield again. I know back in 2011 or 12, Commissioner Rick Catlin actually led a telethon. I think it was a 24-hour telethon to raise money for this particular fund. I think that's pretty much how it got started, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Chair, it's Jennifer. So I think when we first started talking about this, I think the situation with the pandemic was different. And it has gotten drastically worse than what we expected. And I think we're in, if we knew today, or if we knew then what we knew today, I don't know that we would have voted the same. And so I guess I'm asking Linda, what are our options for just And I know the pilot program is only going to affect 12 people or 12 accounts. It's not 6,000 accounts that would be turned off or restricted. It's just 12 accounts in the pilot. But what are our options for delaying it 30 days, 60 days, given that I think it's different than what I thought we were in September and October.
Maybe go into closed session to discuss a possible claim for litigation.
Okay.
Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second. That's it.
What are we voting on?
Mr.
We
Chair, we
didn't.
can't hear what you're saying in there.
We made a motion to go into closed session to discuss a possible claim of claim.
Are we
A
through with
claim
the
in
other
litigation.
discussion?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, myself, and I think several other directors in this room are confused as to where we're at. I have when it's appropriate, a motion that I'd like to bring forward on the previous item, the one that we were just discussing over the flow restrictor.
I
If
think
it's,
if we go into closed session to discuss a possible litigation, I may be able to give you an alternative to the litigation and a claim that other ratepayers could make a claim about not being treated equally.
Okay.
okay, yeah, thank you for that explanation.
For a possible litigation by the other folks.
Just to be clear, though, that when we come back out of closed session, for those who are watching this, that we will come back to the flow restrictor issue, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. All right. Thank you.
I did not catch who made the motion and who seconded.
I know.
Jennifer made the motion.
Wes second.
Dean second.
Dean seconded.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Zappel, you were making a comment when we went into closed session.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. I was saying that I know Director Hackney had some comments, and I was wondering if he could expand on them now that we're back in open session.
Thanks, Rob. I was just following up on some of what Larry had talked about as far as the pilot program, talking to Jim, is 12 of the most delinquent accounts. And that program, if we don't do anything, that program would go into place. And by the time we have the next meeting, it still would be in place. And then we probably would have some data by February. It's not 6,000 people, was talking about 12. So again, we're talking about, community funding, that kind of thing, a multiple prong approach, more community outreach. That's all well and good. But if you're delaying this program, you're just kicking that particular can down the road for the authority. At the same time, I think the whole board is going to have to figure out how much of this are we willing to eat? I mean, you're not taking general funds and putting them into the WAVE program. You're putting how much are we going to write off at the end of the year? Normally, I was talking to John, it's about $800,000. Maybe with this program, it might be several $1 million. And so while there's unrestricted fund balance and there's cash in the bank, at some point in time, this would affect our CIP. So I think all those questions need to be answered. And the board has to say, well, all of these, we can not cut people's water off. We cannot, we can just let this thing ride, but at some point in time, the bill's going to come due. So we have to address that on the back end too. What are we going to push down the road as far as capital improvement projects? How's that going to, how far can we go without raising rates? So, I mean, those are the kind of questions we're going to have answered at the same time. Am I right with that, John?
Right. Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Zell.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Hackney. I guess from my point of view, I think the goal is not to have to write off any of this. I remain confident in our ability of our community to step up. And if I feel as though if the message were put across clearly and the process was made simple enough through a phone call or a visit to one of our CFPUA payment stations, and to have a conversation to actually communicate that the vast majority of these 6,000 outstanding customers would be resolved. And so that we wouldn't have to write off anything and put them on, again, a customized payment plan. But I have a question for Jim. If we were to start with the 12 kind of longest term people on the pilot program as is planned in January of 2021, is it possible that we could not expand on the program until we had a chance to review some of the data at our February meeting or at another time down there to see what the effect and the impact is, thus allowing our communications department to begin an aggressive campaign, and I'm talking about in December and January and early February, that would use all media types, radio, billboard, television, and to have hopefully a press conference that would explain and reach out to all of those customers within the CFPUA that are currently either behind or in threat of becoming behind, to explain to them how easy and how direct it is to not face a situation of having your water either have a flow restrictor or to be cut off. That was a long question, Jim.
The short answer is yes, we can implement as many or as few as the board would like. Our initial number was 12, so that if there were any unintended consequences, we would have a chance to understand those and deal with a very small number of accounts very quickly. If we want to limit it to 12, that's certainly an option, and pause and report back after that. That's certainly possible.
And Jim, many of those accounts, the 12 that we've identified that had the largest balances of 73,000 or of the 25 top accounts, many of those were ones that had balances prior to COVID occurring, correct? Is that correct?
Of the 25 that we've identified, and I don't have this broken down to the top 12, but the 25, 11 had balance transfers, which means they maybe moved from one address to another, and the balance came with them. 8 have likely had a high consumption or a leak of some sort that may have pushed their balance up, and 2 are not making payments at all.
Yeah, I think that this, and I think it's really good, and I'm glad everybody has reached out through email, phone, coming to the meeting today, because I think perspective on this is really important. And some are being devastated by this thing, some are not as much. And I think that's really important. And I think that I feel like I have the same comment that other board members have had, that when this program came out initially, it was great. Because, I mean, unlike some of the other utilities who were doing disconnections, we were still providing service. But I still understand the sentiment on having low flow in a tough situation with, families, multiple children. So I I think these are just unprecedented times that we're dealing with, and there's no easy solution. But I think that, to me, the restrictor program at some point is going to come into play as the solution other than disconnecting water. There's nobody on this board or at CFPUA that wants to disconnect anybody's water. And I think the other thing is there's an accountability on us at CFPUA and the reason this pilot program was set up was so that it could be flexible and we could make changes and we could make it adapt to the community to do the best we can in these times. And I think there's an accountability for CFPUA to do these things, to reach out, to try to help reach out to these people we can't get in touch with, to try to communicate with them. And then if somebody contacts us in a tough situation, we do whatever we can to meet their needs. But this is a tough one. And I think there's a fiscal responsibility we have, but there's also a human being factor here that we've got to do the right thing for our community. And I guess the board's just got to decide whether we want to let this play out as planned and do these limited 12 accounts and monitor that, see how it works, get some feedback, continue to push for these things that everybody has talked about today, or if we want to postpone it until a later time. That's the board's decision. Mr. Huddy.
One last thing is, over the last couple of years that I've been on this board, the customer service aspect of CFPUA has gotten so much better. And I have confidence, and I think a lot of people do have confidence, if in this pilot program, if there's an outlier, if there's a problem and they bring it to Jim's attention, then CFPUA is going to take care of that. I mean, they're not going to leave somebody hanging in the wind. So, I've got confidence in letting these guys do their jobs.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing we haven't really talked about, well, we've alluded to it, but since September, when this decision was made, the landscape has evolved. Jennifer Adams was talking about this. We're about to head into the most difficult part of the pandemic. We, in our area, have done comparatively well for reasons that we don't exactly understand right now, but numbers are ticking up. We know that we are getting a new administration in Washington. So many parts of our landscape are in flux right now. I would imagine that putting a 60-day delay on any decision about the pilot program might allow us to come back to we're in a snapshot of what's going on right now. Between now and days from now, we're going to have a lot more information as far as what our government is going to be doing to. So I just wanted to share that perspective. Are cognizant of how the ground is moving under us. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Charlie Rivenbark. Here again, I think that the pilot program and the restrictor, not cutting people's water completely off, is well thought out. I was, to tell you the truth, I was real surprised. I thought, golly, why didn't we think of this a long time ago? It makes sense. Something's better than nothing. But these are unusual times, and I don't think that Raleigh, in their wisdom when they crafted the general statute that we work under, envisioned what we're going through today. I don't think anybody did. We just don't think of something like this happening to us. And I disagree with Jessica a little bit. I think that the landscape is going to rapidly improve with what we've seen happening in Europe and in the United States in the last 2 days. And that's just going to get better. And I think that that will increase the odds that people will be able to get back to their jobs and work. But in the meantime, when someone calls the authority, if we can get them to call the authority and set up a payment plan, it needs to be as painless as possible, because a lot of people, It's like us that are elected. A lot of people never, ever, ever call an elected official or the city or the county because they've never done it before. They're nervous about it. So it's easy to put that off. We need to be as welcoming as we can and set up that payment plan and get their water on. And I just think it's the humane thing to do. And, you know, I've been on this board for about 10 or 11 years, and money has always been a huge factor. And I've always been, you know, advocate that, you know, we need to keep our rates reasonable. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know they always have been, and I assume they are now. Our rates are somewhere in Midland throughout the state of North Carolina as we compare ourselves to other water providers, water and sewer providers. And I've always been proud of that. But these are difficult times, and praise God, my job, I'm able to keep working and make a commission every now and then to pay my bills and to help my family. But there are a lot of them out there that can't. And we have to have some compassion. And I don't mean that to say that the rest of us don't. I think we all do. But we're in a balancing act here. We're trying to keep the authority solvent, pay our bills, keep the rates low, and at the same time help these folks right now that can't seem to be able to help themselves. So I don't know if extending this thing 60 days or 30 days or whatever, I'm not exactly sure what that will accomplish, but I'll be opposed to it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to delay the restrictor program for 60 days.
Okay,
I'll second that. This is Jonathan Barfield.
Mr. Chair, it's Rob Zappel. Just a clarification. When we say, I guess it's a temporarily suspension, is that from the January 14th date to March 14th?
Yes.
And that's the implementation of even the first phase of it, so it'll be completely suspended until that time?
Yes, I would say we continue the path we're on right now.
If I could
And
add,
delay implementing that program.
add to it as a coupled with a directive to our staff to find further ways to reach out to our community in all communication methods that we possibly can, to be more aggressive, to get the word, as Director Rivenbark said, to make it as easy as possible for those who are in arrears on their bills to be able to get into a payment program. I would support that as well. Sorry, and one more thought on there, also to expand on our existing billing program to allow for those customers who want to try and help out by making donations to the waterway program, and also continue the outreach to our larger community for those people who want to make donations to help those in need of assistance.
Dr. Kennedy, do you allow that amendment?
What was that, Donna?
Do you allow that amendment?
Thank you very much for that, Rob. Yeah, I was just looking at the numbers, just a quick aside. I mean, imagine, so we've basically got $2 million unfunded right now and 200,000 customers. And if we're a very generous community, and I think we could figure out a way to ask those who are doing okay to, an extra $10 with their next payment. I mean, we could do away with a significant chunk of our unmet obligations, just as an aside.
Mr. Chairman, it's Larry Sneeden.
yes, Larry.
I'm still not clear on what the status is on disconnection now. Are we disconnecting customers now, or are we still, is that disconnection still suspended? And would it remain suspended during this period that we're talking about?
This is Jim. We currently disconnect non-residential, and Commissioner Barfield brought up a case where what may be considered residential may have been misclassified. So we'll certainly look at that issue moving forward. But we are doing disconnections for non-residential accounts now, but not for residential.
Okay, so by suspending the flow restriction, we would not be disconnecting anyone, any residential customers during that period.
That would be my recommendation.
Is that,
Yeah, we would be delaying the restrictor program as well as continuing to delay.
did we have it scheduled such that the disconnections would begin again at any point in the future?
The residential were on hold until after the pilot program. So I would recommend if we're going to delay the pilot program, we not do any residential disconnections and then revisit that after the pilot program results are available.
Okay, so does that need to be part of the motion that's made?
Yes, it does.
I would ask that that be included.
I would have that be included.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can get an individual call vote on this and not just a mass aye or no.
Okay. So we have a motion, from Dr. Cannon, to extend the program 60 days, to continue no disconnections for that period.
And to advertise.
And yeah, to continue our efforts to advertise and outreach to let people know, to let us know what their status is, and to also try to make awareness on funds.
You weren't on.
And Commissioner Barfield, do you still second that?
A 3-page motion, yes.
Okay, we'll take a vote then. Do you want us to go around and do that?
Yes, sir, if you would.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I want to make sure that I have it clear in my head yeah, on the motion that we're temporarily suspending the flow restrictor program until March 14th. And then at that time, we would begin the pilot program again with the first 12, or the ones that have the largest outstanding bills. And then we would continue to monitor it as it gets slowly rolled out, over the next few months. Is that correct, Jim?
That was how I understood it, yes. And that's how we had intended to launch the program, yes.
So the majority of the flow restrictor program would not take place until the warmer months, say June, July. Is that a reasonable expectation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll vote on the item. Mr. Hackney?
I vote no.
Who? Who's talking to?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm voting no.
Thank you.
Jennifer votes yes.
Wes Quarter votes yes. We'll go around. Mr. Barfield?
Yes, aye.
Mr. Sneeden?
Aye.
Mr. Briggs?
We're voting on the motion, right?
Correct.
Aye.
Let's see. Mr. Rivenbark
Yes.
and Mr. Zappel.
Yes.
She made you. Yeah, she made.
We assume yes from me since
Yeah.
I vote aye, aye, aye.
I apologize. I
No
did
worries.
not hear Mr. Sneeden's vote.
My vote was aye.
Okay, with that, the motion passes, and we will delay the program with those amendments for 60 days. Thank you for the board for all that discussion, and thank you for all the public comments that we've had on this this important item. With that, we'll move on to our consent agenda for today. We have 11 items in front of you for approval or discussion. Does anyone-
Chairman,
Mr.
I'd like,
Jennifer, motion to approve.
I would like to pull item number 9. I'm sorry, item number 8. I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, can we pull item number 5?
Five and 8.
And I would second the motion on the remaining items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9, 10, and 11.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor on those items?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We want to go review item number 5 first. What, Mr. Briggs?
Yes. What is that gonna look like? Is that gonna be a fire hydrant technician position? Is that gonna be just one person, a team of people? Well, what is that gonna look like? And what exactly are they gonna be doing to the fire hydrants? I do notice that from time to time, there's certain fire hydrants that are out of order, and I've always thought that some attention need to be given to those items other than the fire department. So I am in agreement to it, but I just want to know what it looks like.
And this is Jim, and that position will be going to each hydrant. We have about 8,000 hydrants in our system. And one position will be able to get to every hydrant in just under a year and a half. They'll be performing maintenance that's beyond what the fire departments can typically do now. In other words, the Wilmington Fire Department, New Hanover County Fire District visit the hydrants and make sure that they're operable. Our person is going to make sure that they're properly lubricated, they're not missing parts. And if they need repairs beyond what that person can do, then they'll get that work scheduled. This is something that we're responsible for in our ILA with the city and the county. And it's something that we think with one person dedicated to it, we can make sure that it gets the attention it deserves and that we have that line of communication with the fire departments as well. Major repairs would not be done by that one person, obviously.
Sir, so who is responsible for painting the hydrants, and who is responsible for keeping the weeds from around the hydrants?
Good questions, and those are ones that we've been discussing with the fire departments. We're responsible for painting. We own the asset, and it's our job to make sure it's in proper order. As far as weeds or other obstructions, then that would be either the city or the county would do that. If the grass is growing up, or if someone has put landscaping too close to it, or otherwise obstructing it.
I just see that job as getting fire hydrants painted or weeding around them as a job opportunity for someone that's maybe having a hard time finding a job. I mean, I could be wrong, but I pass by those fire hydrants every day, and I always see it as a job opportunity for someone. So that's where I'm coming from. That's why I wanted to pull the item, is because I see it as a job opportunity for more than just one person.
And I would like to add that the painting, we do contract out to a group that works with people with disabilities to do some of that work. So it has been an opportunity for folks to get job training and employment.
Well, can you tell me what that name of that group is, sir?
I can, but not right now. I will have to send that out to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, just one quick correction. Jim, I believe it's the NCDOT, not the county, who would be responsible for that weed clearing, et cetera, in the public right of ways. Do I have that correct?
DOT does maintain their rights of way outside the city limits. As far as cutting and other maintenance, I don't know if it would not be us. So whether it's the DOT or if it's the county fire service, I can't say with certainty.
Understood. Thank you.
If there are no more comments about number 5, we'll go ahead and move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Move on to item number 8, Mr. Ivanbark.
Mr. Chair, in item number 8, in the opening page, the problem that was caused there was from a vendor for Duke Energy. And it says Glatfelter or Glatfelter, our carrier has indicated they may attempt to recover damages from Duke Energy's subcontractor involved in the claim. Well, I would certainly hope they would. How does, I mean, somebody runs into my car, I expect to be recompensated for it. And I would certainly think that the vendor would be carries insurance and would, find us harmless on that. Is that a fair statement?
This is Jim, and that is a fair statement. I'm fully expect that our insurance company would pursue trying to recover from the contractor that damaged our system.
Okay, you just let us know how that pans out. I'd appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. With that, I'll move the item.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with that, our consent agenda is passed. We'll move to new business, administrative reports. Linda, attorney's report.
I don't have anything to report, but I do need to go in closed session to discuss CFPUA versus DEQ and Camorris DuPont.
Are we going to do that now or at the end of the meeting?
And
Yeah, end of the meeting. All right, Jim, executive director's report.
Thank you. The key indicators report, environmental report, and safety report are in your packet. If there are questions on those, we'd be glad to answer them. And the customer service update was provided earlier in the meeting.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question for Jim.
Yes, Mrs. Apple.
Thank you. Yeah, Jim, on page 72, the wastewater plant flows for the south side. I noticed we had a definite uptick this past month in the monthly effluent flows. Is there anything obvious environmentally, et cetera, that would cause that? I know we're, at least on the peak days, starting to bump up against our permitted capacity. Could you expand on that at all?
Typically, when we see that happen, it's related to rain and wet weather that causes infiltration and inflow, which makes its way to our plant. And you bring up an excellent point. It demonstrates the value of keeping I&I and rainwater out of our system to preserve that capacity. And we also sometimes direct flow between north side and south side, but it wouldn't create that big of a change. So my belief is that it's largely related to weather.
Commissioner Zappel, maybe one follow-up on that is obviously a very good observation. We did do work at the north side wastewater treatment plant in November on the UV system, replacing some critical valves with a diver at night. As part of that, we wanted to reduce some of the flow going to north side, so it was diverted, as Mr. Fleckner indicated, to the south side wastewater treatment plant for a short period of time. It's back to normal now.
Thank you, and thank you, Jim and Carl. One other follow-up is on, I think it's page 76. It's the south side wastewater treatment plant effluent intercocci numbers. They appear to be dramatically down from, and I mean way down from a year ago. Is there something that's driving this, or is that just an anomaly? And it's been true since July, it looks like, on the graph that I'm looking at.
I'll ask Carl Vandermeiden, our engineering director, to answer that.
I believe there's various factors involved, but one of them is that staff has been working very hard at the plant to further optimize the performance through that plant over the last 6 months, and it could be another effect of that.
Whatever they're doing, it's working. That's terrific. Thank you.
No other comments, so I will move to the committee reports. Executive committee met on December 2nd, and the minutes are in your packet. Long-range planning, Mr.
Mr.
Sneeden.
Chairman, I'm sorry, it's Jessica.
Yeah.
Could we go back to the executive committee? I was wondering if you could speak to the process for selecting a new executive director. I've been in denial about the fact that Jim is planning to leave us, but I was wondering, is there a board involvement in that and how that works? Thanks.
Yes, so we've met, had 2 meetings, just kind of establishing the process, the team that's going to be advising us on, getting candidates, reaching out, getting us some qualified candidates. And then as that gets narrowed down to some potential candidates, then there will be more board involvement in those decisions. Right now, we're just doing the preliminary legwork.
Super, thanks so much.
Well, Mr. Chair, follow up on that. Are we anticipating a region-wide search or a national search?
It's nationwide, isn't it?
Lori McCoy, the HR director, has engaged a search firm, and that would be then a nationwide search. Mhm.
You broke up there a little bit, Jennifer. You said it would be a national search?
Yes, that's correct.
And I assume that we're also looking internally as well.
Correct. Anybody can be part of that search process, yes.
Thank you.
Does the state statute specify how we do this, or do we have our own internal bylaws about it?
Statute does not provide how we do this.
We're basically, at this point, we're following the protocols that we followed the last time. And with technology and being advised by our consultant, we're following their lead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Long-range planning, Mr. Sneeden.
Yes, the minutes of the last long-range planning committee meeting should be in your packet. And we have no further report.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Ms. Adams.
The minutes from last week's December 2nd Finance Committee meeting are in your packet, and Mr. McLean has a monthly financials update.
Thank you. Good morning. In the interest of brevity, just wanted to give a quick update. This is, again, our look at our year-to-date progress in terms of our revenues versus our expenditures. And you can see on line 14 that we have, our expenditures have exceeded our revenues by about $11.3 million. That is due to, you can see the breakdown between, kind of the contribution from the capital budget side of things and the operating budget side of things. From the capital budget side of things, you see this this number right here, this negative $6.9 million. That is due to the spending of bond proceeds that were received last year for the raw water project and also for the Swinney upgrades. It also includes some spend down of capital reserves. So those were revenues that were collected or booked in prior years that contributed to an operating surplus. We then took those monies from the undesignated fund balance and put them in a restricted fund balance category. So that's what those are. On the operating side, you see this $4.4 million number. That is still, that's just a kind of a product of timing. We have a very, very large debt service payment that was made in August. And so, we'll, continue till the end of the year, kind of, not seeing such a huge outflow, but continuing to book those revenues. And we should see a surplus or at least for us to break even. Again, that any deficit that we would see at the end of the year on the operating side is a product of revenue performance. Obviously, we can't spend any more than what's in the budget. Our revenues are designed to recover fully what our expenditures are budgeted for. And so, kind of on that note, wanted to take you to this slide. Just looking at our revenue performance, this is year to date. We are here now. This is a look at November. The previous slide was as of October 31st. You can see 41.67% through the year, 5/12 through the year, and you can see that where our revenues are, they're right there, 41.75% compared to this 41.67%. In terms of our progress through the year. So, really hoping that, those extra efforts that we made to very tightly forecast and really try to get that crystal ball out and, predict those different drivers in terms of consumption and the number of ERUs that would be assessed in SDC, and those various things, that it, kind of looks, at least through November, that we're right there. I did want to go back to the first slide just to give an idea of kind of how this previous discussion on the receivables and the flow restrictors and kind of how that $2.2 million manifests itself, in to these numbers here. These reflect revenues and expenditures, not on a cash basis, but what's called it's a budgetary basis, the modified accrual basis. That's what state statutes require us to do. And what that means is that the revenues are booked and recorded when the services have been rendered to the customer. So when we send out those bills, that's when those revenues do get booked. It's not when the cash is received from those customers. So this issue and the $2.2 million or so that we were looking at from those residential accounts, that gap, that's really just a cash flow problem. It doesn't manifest itself in terms of our unrestricted fund balance, because instead of being cash, those bills being paid and that cash coming in, we're just having more of a balance stick out in the accounts receivable, but it's still on the balance sheet. It's still factored into this unrestricted fund balance number that you see at the bottom there. So this kind of issue and some of those numbers that you were seeing from the previous presentation, that really speaks to more of a cash flow issue. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
No other comments? We'll go to the sustainability. Oh.
Yes.
Go to the, what was that?
Sorry, I was just going to start talking.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The Sustainability Committee met on November 19th, and those minutes are included in your packet. Also included in your packet is a white paper that we have been, John McLean has put together. We are currently working on affordability and rate equity. In the future, we anticipate bringing to the board recommendations for implementing tiered pricing, which we hope will be more protective of essential uses in terms of cost, and hopefully work in some conservation that may limit capital expenses in the future related to capacity. So the white paper gets down in the weeds, and John is doing an amazing job sort of mashing numbers through various filters so we can understand exactly what we're dealing with. And so we figure out the best ways to make pricing decisions that will help with equity and affordability. So that's all in your packet. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there any old business or closing comments anybody would like to make?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
Sorry, it's Rob Zappel. Just a quick comment. I noted that in our financial reports, CFPUA donated 40 computers to communities and schools. Once again, the wonderful work that we do as an organization spreads throughout the community, and that's one very simple but really important way we do it. So I applaud our staff for making that happen.
Thank you, Rob. With that, we'll take a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And we come to the living room?
Allowed.
Yes, Charlie.
Bad.